So back in the day when I was in high school, I got invited up to this tournament to play basketball. I didn't know anybody on the team. I didn't know anything about the program. And when I first got there, I met this coach who was about 5'2", a white male. He was like short and stocky. And at first, I thought, all right, so there's no way that this guy has anything to offer to me. He looks like he's never played a day of basketball in his life. It turns out that he was very knowledgeable. He was very knowledgeable in basketball. And in fact, he taught me a couple of things that have helped my career in many ways. And with that brings me to my quote: "A critic is a man who knows the way but can't drive the car," by Tynan. At first, I agreed with this quote because I was, young and naive. I didn't really know that much better. But after looking back at it, I would have to disagree with this quote, because just because you don't look like or appear to have the knowledge to do something doesn't mean that you can't preach it. Life throws different circumstances that people were, say he might not have been blessed with that athleticism to play the sport, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't watched the game and learned, taken a liking to the game and learned about the game or whatever. People, you can't really I had that's what I was going to say. People need to not just shut themselves off to listen to other people when they're trying to give them advice. And just because they might come off as they know a lot doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about. And that brings me to that.
All right, the presentation issues are okay to begin with. I think you've got nice vocal variety in the opening, and you've got a good tone that you're using that's serious about the subject, conveys an idea here that in an interesting way, and that's fine. The pacing is pretty good up until the end. In the last part of the speech, you just kind of run out of stuff to say, and that's when things seem a little bit more awkward. Your gestures are limited because you do have that quote in your hand, and you kind of feel like sometimes you're holding it with both hands and looking at it again. And I think if you got it out of your hands, you'd be a little bit more engaged in talking to the audience instead of focusing on just that piece of paper. I didn't think there was any problem with your eye contact. It wasn't particularly consistent, but it didn't seem like you were avoiding the audience, and you looked up quite a bit. Your body movements may be a little bit stiff. I think that there weren't any obvious issues of anxiety, except kind of right at the end. I thought maybe at the end of the presentation you're just bailing out because you don't have much to say. You had a great example to start with, and you use it pretty pretty well at the beginning of the speech and when you get to the topic itself. But then you can't get past that one example. That's the one illustration that you've got. And you got to think of other contexts where is it that we need other people's help, even people who can't necessarily do the things that we do anymore. Your parents, for instance, they're not young, they can't do some of the same things that you do, but that doesn't mean that they don't have experience that would be useful and insightful to you. Just because somebody hasn't made themselves a millionaire doesn't mean that they don't have good advice about how to handle your money. In fact, maybe they've got the better advice because they know from experience, you know, that kind of stuff. So if you could get yourself a couple of just structural ideas, once you get to them, you'd be able to create some ideas to talk about, but you got that one and you're so locked into it, I don't think that you kind of escape it. Thank you. Eunice, help yourself to a piece of paper with 3 topics on it and send in